Good evening and welcome to Emerson Institute at City of Light. I'm Reverend Dr. Paul Gratz, and I am so glad that you've joined us this evening. We're coming to you live from the Dr. Angelo Pizzella Wisdom Center here at City of Light, and we are thrilled to offer this class on the Infinite Way. It is class number 2, and it is on an exciting book by Joel S. Goldsmith. The author has presented some really powerful insights for our life, and we're going to enjoy taking a look at them tonight. So to prepare for our class session this evening, let's just take some deep breaths and just center our thoughts in this moment, right here and now, because the Spirit of God is something important for us to experience. Let's do this by breathing in through our nose, holding for a brief moment, and then breathing out through our mouth and releasing all stress, tension, and any distractions. Join with me. Let's breathe together. Breathe in and release. Deep breath in and release. Deep breath in and release. And in this moment of silence, set your intention for that which you'd like to transpire in your life during this time that we share together. And so it is. Well, let's dig in. I hope you have your note packet ready and you're following along. Once again, if you'd like to have a note packet and you've not received one, just reach out to me at revtpaul@aol.com. And I'll make sure that our registrar, Dr. David Carter, reaches out to you with a note packet prior to every class session. This is sort of the cliff notes of the chapter, and it's great for you to follow along. Helps you just be able to look back and study a little bit more about what's been discussed. And then you can just add your own little comments or notes on the side of thoughts that really stick out or maybe have triggered something within your spiritual journey. So let's take a look at class number 2. It's entitled, What is Our Spiritual Reality? This chapter is all about spiritual illumination, and it's going to help us understand spiritual reality. Now we're going to break these terms down. What is real for us spiritually? What is really real? And what is an illusion, or what is not real? That's called our spiritual reality. We're going to take a look at that. And spiritual illumination is that bringing us to this enlightened state of mind, of consciousness, of awareness, in a spiritual realm that helps us understand even more so what our spiritual reality is. So spiritual illumination is this awakening, this consciousness, and enables us to discern the spiritual reality where our human concept always seems to appear to be. It's stuck there. So this is, instead of what we see or perceive in the material sense, we're looking beyond that into spiritual illumination, seeing the world through spiritual eyes, seeing every experience through the spiritual versus the limitations of the physical. Now, when we engage in this spiritual illumination, what happens is we're disregarding appearances. You know, no matter what happens during the course of our day, sometimes we're so caught up on the appearances of the day's activities. Appearances may be based on what we smell, what we taste, what we hear, what we see, etc. And we're so caught up in that which we see transpiring in our world of appearances and all of its limitations that we don't look beyond what's happening into understanding there's a spiritual cause for everything that we're encountering. So we want to understand this, that we cannot recognize what is while we're believing what is not. Okay? So just remember that. We want to be able to look at the world through spiritual eyes of the evolution, the unfolding of the goodness of God in all ways, that there's a reason for everything that's happening. So if we don't recognize, if we're constantly believing that, in limitation, how can we believe in abundance? If we're constantly looking at the world of its sickness, illness, how can we believe in being whole? How can we believe for something that something is while we're also believing that it is not? Hebrews chapter 4:6 offers this wonderful illustration for us. A little passage says, they entered not in because of their unbelief. It's referencing that unbelief has kept people from really entering in to the power of spiritual illumination, spiritual awareness, spiritual understanding. We may enter in because of our belief, but we cannot enter in while there is unbelief. So we cannot be divided in our thinking that says, you know what, I believe something great's going to happen, but I believe in something bad's going to happen. We can't say I believe in the abundance of God and I'm living in the realm of unexpected income, while we're also saying, you know what, there's limitation and lack, and the source is my paycheck, not God. And so we can't have these two at work at the same time. Dr. David Carter has a comment.
So if you veer off the path, let's say of illumination and understanding, if you veer off that path and start doubting, grace comes in to give you opportunity to redirect. Would you say?
Yes, there is grace. It gives us opportunity to redirect and to remind us, because once we understand that our outlook is to be in spiritual reality, that everything is of the divine, everything that we're going through is of God. When we understand that, when we slip away from it, the grace calls us back into that higher level of understanding. So what we understand is that when we're disregarding the physical appearances of our world, this makes the appearance even less real to us, and it opens the door for greater illumination, greater understanding. So we may look at every circumstance in our life from this physical, and when we begin to move to the spiritual, the physical is less important for us. Dr. David Carter.
Lauren Williams, her question is this a strictly Christian path?
Is this a strictly Christian path? No, it is not strictly Christian, although it is truly based in the wonderful spiritual truths of the Judeo-Christian ethic that we live in. It is based, this whole teaching is based in the wonderful spiritual truths that we find in Old and New Testament, but that are echoed also through Jewish tradition, Muslim tradition, spiritual teachings of the Hindu and Buddhist traditions. All these are weaving together this wonderful truth that simply says that we cannot be of a divided mind. We cannot serve two masters, it might say in the New Testament. It also is this echo down through the ages. In so much of the spiritual teaching of great sages, beyond just Christianity, beyond just the Bible. So we have to be focused, we have to be centered. We cannot be in belief and unbelief. So when we are thinking things from the physical, material world, it is difficult to see things from the spiritual. So it's hard, to have our mind divided. The physical world, the material world, is full of all of its limitations. But in the spiritual realm, it is unlimited. There are unlimited possibilities for you. So what are we doing when we're thinking limitation, unlimited? We're thinking finite possibilities, infinite possibilities. You see, we're divided in our thinking. So what we want to do is begin to focus and center our thoughts in the spiritual reality, in this wonderful truth of knowing that the power of God is at work in us, through us, around us, and always for us. So let's take a look at this. From the Old Testament, there's a passage where Daniel is called before the king to interpret some dreams. And Daniel chapter 5, verse 14 says, the king says, I've heard about you, that a spirit of the gods is in you, and that you have insight, discernment, extraordinary wisdom. This is a biblical example for each and every one of us, that the Spirit is within us. And within us, we're going to find this infinite wisdom, discernment, and extraordinary wisdom. It's there within. It is when we start believing, and the belief is that this insight can be found as we go within, not looking out here, there, everywhere, all around us, but going within and allowing that which was within us to rise up. And that is to rise up in a consciousness or a righteousness, which we call right thinking. Right thinking. So let's talk a little bit more about our thoughts, which are very creative. And let's just break this down, that we know that there is a law, a spiritual law of cause and effect. We find it expressed in what you sow, you reap. We find this in nature. If you sow tomato seeds, you get roses. Oh, no, you don't. You get tomatoes. So what you sow, you reap. There is a cause that when we put out seeds, we know that that cause creates an effect. So it is, we understand that this is a spiritual law in our life, that there is a cause that will bring about effect. We see in the material world that the material world all around us is an effect that's been brought by a cause. And what is this cause? Well, the cause is the act or agency by which some effect is produced. So something is causing this effect. So what we understand is that effect did not make itself, but there has to be some power behind every effect causing it to be. And all manifestation is an effect, and it's subject to cause. For cause then is what's real, and the material world is simply the effect of the cause. So what's really real, where the real power is not in the effect, but in the cause. So let's just say, for instance, this table that I'm leaning on tonight, someone had a thought. That thought was the cause that wrote out the design for the creation of this table. This table was not created on its own without a thought being thought about it, a creative thought being expressed, a creative thought being manifested. So that creative thought was the cause that brought about the creation of this table. This table did not create itself. It's not created by other tables, but is a result of thought. So we think about this and we understand that God is first cause. Thought is cause. You think something and you create it, right? And everything that's created had to be thought of first. Cars didn't create themselves, but someone thought of how to create a car, and a car was created. So we understand this, that the thoughts, whatever we're thinking, is a creative power in this world. We look at God and the very intelligence, the very insight that we call the divine, the wisdom of the ages that people refer to as this higher power. We call this intelligence first cause. The first cause of everything. Everything being created from this intelligence, from this infinite wisdom. So let's break this down a little bit further. For when we realize that everything is mind, think about that. Everything is mind. No one has ever seen mind or spirit, right? But the only proof that we have mind is what? We can think, right? So we know that because we think, there is mind, right?
Right.
So there is no such thing as your mind and my mind, his mind and her mind, or God's mind. There's just mind, intelligence, wisdom, thought, consciousness. There is just mind in which we live and move and have our being. Now, when we realize that everything is mind, everything is this intelligence, everything is this based of thought, creative thought, for thoughts are creative energy, and that nothing moves but mind. That's right. And that only the instrument of this mind is is thought. The only instrument of mind is thought. So mind being this wisdom, this infinite intelligence, we're all part of it. There's not your intelligence, my intelligence. There's just one intelligence, and that is the divine intelligence, and we're all part of it. Steve has a comment.
So are we saying that God has a mind or that God is mind?
I believe God is mind. Not has a mind. That would make him into a being, but that thinks. But God is not a being. God is this infinite presence, energy, power. So God is mind. And mind is moved by thought. So we will see that the answers to our prayer are found when we move mind with thinking, with right thoughts. So we start thinking, yes, the answer to my prayer is I am healed. Yes, the answer to my prayer is I think and I know in faith believing, and I profess I am well, I'm whole, I'm abundant, I'm prosperous, I'm loved, whatever it may be, because thoughts are more than things. They are the cause of things. Okay? So what might be created in this world that didn't happen because of a thought or cause? Nothing. Everything has been created in this world. You and I, every being comes from a thought. So the mind of God, of which you are part of, again, let me just illustrate that, that just as every wave in the ocean, in itself, although it's a unique wave, has all the elements of the ocean in it. Okay? When we understand that illustration, then every one of us is of the likeness and image of God, created in that likeness and image of God. So every one of us has God within us. I love to illustrate this over and over again for our homemakers. In a 9x13 cake, all the ingredients are mixed together, right? Poured that batter in and you baked it. Now when you cut a slice in the corner, all the ingredients in that slice of cake are in that cake, in that slice, right? All the ingredients, all the batter and not all of it in totality, but a portion of it. So in each and every one of us is this divine mind, this divine intelligence. You are part of that. You are created in this wonderful mind, thought, intelligence. So we understand that thoughts are more than things. They are the cause of things. What we are beholding through the senses of our sight and our hearing and our taste and touch and smell is not the reality of things. Think about that. Things are seen are not made of things which do appear, but what we see comes from that which we don't see. Thoughts. Okay? Again, we're just echoing over and over again. The automobile was not created by another automobile. So the creation of automobiles are not from things. Things, effects, do not create effects. Cause creates effects. So the automobile was created by cause, which is thought. Okay, we have another comment coming in.
Okay, so the thinker in man is mind?
Mind, yep.
Okay.
So we are, and what we find in this wonderful thought process, that there's no such thing as your mind, his mind. We're all in God's mind. There's just mind. And in God, in mind, we live and move and have our being. So it is this wonderful consciousness. Our ability to think is what makes man so unique and rises us above. We have consciousness, a high level of consciousness to comprehend, and in that to be a creative force that begins to think. And this is how faith works in our life. As a man thinks, so he is, says Scripture. So if you begin to think, you are whole, well, successful, prosperous. You are. For as you think, those creative thoughts, the mind of God at work is unfolding and bringing about that manifestation. All right, David Carter, another comment.
So is mind spirit?
Yes.
So, okay, so it's just interchangeable.
Right.
Okay.
No one has ever seen mind or spirit, right? But the only proof we have of mind is that we can think. So we know there is mind because we each think. So there has to be some thought process going out in this universe. We're part of that. And because each one of us are created in this image and likeness, and that is the thought process of the divine, we're created in that. The very creation story in Genesis chapter 1 is illustrating this as the divine presence, which we call God, said, thought, let there be light, right? And thought expressed was a cause that brought about an effect. So we understand this as science and spirituality begin to mold together. We understand that The very psychology of the soul is this journey of thought being creative, and what we think we create in our lives. And so many people are thinking poverty, and they're thinking lack, and they're thinking failure, and they're creating that in their life. While others are thinking success and prosperity and blessing, and they're creating that in their life. And people may say, well, what about the world of appearances and all the circumstances? You know, certain person born in a ghetto and the poverty world around them. But yet we see examples where they begin to think abundance and prosperity, and they move out of that poverty. Have we not seen also people who've won the lottery and have immense wealth, and because they don't believe that there's ever enough, and they're frightened and scared by even the immense wealth that they just achieved, they begin to lose it all, and before long they fall into poverty because they believe, oh, I'm afraid, I got 5 million, or 50 million, or whatever it may be, and that's not enough because I'm going to buy a $10 million house, and I'm going to buy this and that, and cars for everybody, and I'm not going to have enough money. There's not going to be enough to go around. Yet they have immense wealth. You see, it is how you think that creates your world. So when we understand this from a spiritual reality, we have to ask ourselves, what are you thinking? What thoughts are you entertaining? Because we understand that our life reacts to our spiritual or material concept. Whether we're thinking in the spiritual or where we're thinking in the material, meaning the physical and the world of limitation. And it will build and rebuild according to our beliefs and our faith. So our life is going to react. When we're thinking from the spiritual realm, I live in abundance. I am being blessed even now. Even now, I sense and know that the divine hand of God is at work in my life, providing, making a way for me at all times. And you may, well, where's that? What's happening to you right now? It's a belief. And we live in that belief. And that thought process is what brings about the manifestation in our lives. Okay? So, as an example, when my partner passed away this year, I had already knowing full well in his last few months that I would believe that someone was coming into my life. I began to prepare for that. I began to get ready for someone coming into my life, and I began to express that as I'm getting ready for someone, they're getting ready for me. And I began to believe and live from that perspective. And lo and behold, when I met someone who came into my life, people are like, whoa, that happened awfully quick. Are you sure it's not too soon for you? And like, well, wait a minute. How crazy it is to say, well, I was manifesting, I was believing for an answer to my prayer. I just didn't want it this soon. That's crazy. Or I didn't want it that quickly. Or I would prefer that God postponed the answer. No, we believe the answer would be coming as we begin to believe for that. According to our faith, so shall you receive. It doesn't say there's a time limit on that. So it is the level or the degree of our faith and believing. So I began to operate in this way, knowing that someone was coming into my life. So I prepared myself for that person coming into my life. And lo and behold, I have someone in my life who's a wonderful person. Yes.
Okay. Suppose you did not have the level of faith that you have, and you sought out spiritual mind treatment. Let's just say the person who's doing the spiritual mind treatment, the prayer treatment for you, let's say they're in Chicago and you're here in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And all of the work is in the mind of the practitioner, correct? They do the work, but we're all in one mind. But as they're doing the spiritual work for you, you have to be in agreement.
That's right.
But let's just say you're trying to get there, but you think that you can't get there. So the practitioner continues until you get there?
That's correct. Helping you to get there. Now, in other words, everything happens to the degree or the level of our faith, of our willingness to accept, to receive the answer. Everything happens to the degree or the level that we allow something to happen within our life. Steve has a comment.
So, going by David's example, when we go to a practitioner, are we like borrowing someone else's faith?
No, what they're doing is treating our doubt, okay? So what a practitioner or a prayer person, we call a practitioner, is doing is treating your limitation, your thoughts of doubt, fear, separation, etc. So their prayer is, and I would say something like, I speak this for Dave, as an example. So I see now, Dave, or I may speak it in the first person for Dave. I am whole. I am complete. And my prayer is, I am healed and I am well and I see my body completely whole and perfect. And that prayer is for Dave to receive those very words into himself, treating his own doubt and releasing that doubt that says, but I'm not whole, to I hear the words of this prayer and I speak them along with the prayer treatment or the practitioner. I too receive this word. I am whole. So as Reverend Paul prays for Dave, Dave opens his mind and allows that prayer treatment to be received, saying in agreement, yes, I agree. It's like guiding someone into faith. Okay? I love that because it's kind of like, I'm going to take your hand, and if you're willing to come, I'm going to lead you with my words into this wonderful understanding of the prayer already answered. Okay? That's faith. We're going to move into the realm of the prayer is already answered. Because quite often we're praying in a way that says, dear God, would you please? That doesn't say that the answer is there, does it? Or I beg you, I'll offer you my firstborn child. I will do everything. I'll attend church every Sunday. I'll go to temple. I'll go to synagogue. I'll do whatever, of my religious faith. I'll beat my chest. I'll do whatever it takes, And so we're pleading, we're begging, and we're actually in our words, in our mind, assuming God is withholding the answer. So a prayer treatment from a practitioner, a prayer partner, is treating your doubt, your fear, and your thoughts, and sort of taking you by the hand, saying, come with me. If you're willing, I'm going to lead you into this thought process, this consciousness that the answer is already here. David.
So if it's taking a while, at some point the practitioner meets up with the person, kind of see what additional support they need. Because if the practitioner continues to do the treatment until the manifestation occurs, and let's say Dave is struggling real hard, he's trying his best to go forward, but it's slow going. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, is there a point at which the practitioner stops the treatment if Dave just can't get
right
there?
I think this is, again, is there a point when we just cut someone off and just say, okay, you're hopeless? I don't believe that. I believe, even in the illustration of from the New Testament where there is one sheep that is gone and leaves the 99 to go after that one to bring him back into the fold. That speaks of that kind of determination that we have in helping someone and guiding someone if they're willing. Now, again, Dave may say, you know what, I'm just not willing. I'm not ready. I'm not able. I'm not ready to believe for healing. I'm not able to believe for healing. I'm not at that place. And that may be a point where, okay, we're in agreement. You're not at that place. And the level of your allowing is very low, okay? So that may take some time that we need to work on that. So prayer treatment may now move from treating for the healing that Dave may be initially requesting to now treating for a spirit of allowing. And to work on that first and foremost, that there help Dave to see and open up his eyes to the spiritual realm. And that may take some time of some spiritual growth and his own contemplation, his own study, his own learning, to come to this place where now my faith is ready to move forward.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's say Dave came to you and said, I really want to be healed. How do I see myself healed when I'm in so much pain and the pain is agonizing? How would you help it?
Right. Well, first of all, when Dave says, I'm in so much pain, I'm agonizing, he's coming to the prayer request from the physical, okay? So he sees all of his pain, he feels all of his pain, and he's now in the world of limitation of the physical world. So we're going to leave the physical world and we're going to move into the world of faith, this spiritual realm where all things are possible. So even though you're feeling this pain in the physical, you're now moving your thought process to the realm where all things are possible and you are perfect, whole, and healed. So we're inviting you with our prayer treatment to leave behind the pain of the physical and to move now by faith into the realm of seeing yourself completely whole and well and healed. Okay? So that's the prayer treatment that, we want to invite them to leave the realm of the material and the physical world where we're saying, I just feel pain, I feel pain, I feel. What we're saying in that is, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. You don't understand, pray for me. I'm sick, and all I'm doing is I'm saying I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. And I'm going to say, are you ready to leave that sickness? Are you ready to leave that sickness? If you're ready to leave that sickness, let's go right now. Let's leave it behind. Begin to see by faith, I'm whole, I'm well. The wellness is the goodness of God, the perfect essence of God. For God is within me. Is God sick? No, but God is within you. So the power and presence within you, is it sick? Is it poor? Is it feeling lack? Is it feeling stress? No, God doesn't know any of those. So let's awaken the divine presence and live from that presence. And that's where we begin to say, I am the power of God. Was the I am. I am well. Not I am sick. I am well. I begin to see from the eyes of God, from the, shall we say, the spiritual sight. And from that perspective, our life will build and rebuild according to the level of our belief. So this human scene that we live in is entirely a misconception. It's a misconception through misperception. We've created a world where we say there's not enough. We have a misperception, and this is a misconception because in the world there's a realm of abundance. Science will even tell us there's enough in this world for everyone, but greed has taken place, and so there isn't the spirit of sharing as there could be. This world operates in a way of harmony and unity. When it's all in alignment, there is an abundance for everyone to be experienced. But we live in a human realm, and that human realm is full of greed and self-hoarding, a sense of lack and self-importance. And so what happens, because of that misconception, we have created something within our world. Because of that misperception of the way we see the world, we've created a thought process that is a cause that brings about an effect. And so the cause that we have is that our thoughts are full of, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. And what does that cause bring about? The effect of, oh, honey, you are sick. So when we begin to feel the physical pain, we want to leave that physical pain behind. Yes, it's still there. We're not denying it. It may be there, but we're seeing the infinite possibilities that are there for us to have healing now present in this moment. So without this illumination, we struggle and we wrestle with the forces of this world. This idea that we can see from the eyes of God, see the goodness of God. And begin to, that's faith. Faith says is the substance of things unseen. So eyes of faith say, I can't see it, but my eyes of faith say it is there. And seeing from that eyes of faith ignites the believing. We think believing is then enabling us to see. And it's, it is believing is enabling us to see, and we think seeing is enabling us to believe. I want to get that straight for you. So when we begin to see from eyes of faith, we begin to believe. For a lot of times we think, well, let me see it first and then I'll believe it. That's the material perspective. So what happens is when we are moving into this spiritual enlightenment, this spiritual illumination, it's going to bring peace to our life. Why? Because first of all, in that illuminating sense and consciousness and awareness, our thoughts are, God makes a way when there seems to be no way. I'm at peace. There's a problem. God is the God of solutions. I'm at peace. And then there's a confidence that rises up within us because we know that the power and presence of God is great and mighty and at work within us. So confidence and assurance rises. And then it brings rest from all the world's issues, and all the good begins to flow through our life in grace because we begin to understand, I don't live in the realm of the physical. Because why? You're a spiritual being having a physical experience. You're not a physical being trying to have a spiritual experience. You are this soul. You are this spiritual being, this essence. You are the spark of the divine. Don't ever forget that. That's your number one outlook in life. When you realize I'm spiritual and I live from the spiritual realm, then we are living from first cause. We are living from cause that will create a dynamic effect of everything coming into harmony and unity. So we see now that we do not live by acquiring or gaining or achieving, but we live by this grace. Now, we do not get our good because we already have our good, okay? Do you understand that you already have it? Why? Because you are created in the image and likeness of God that is perfect. The perfection of God is in you. You were made perfect, whole, complete. It's just that you have lost sight of that. You've forgotten that. The world has tricked you into believing all your faults and all your errors and all the things that they want you to believe that you are not. But you already are all these things. So people say, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't we strive for some of this? What about no pain, no gain? Don't we have to work at getting something? Shouldn't we be broken down and really beaten down to let the light come in? And people talk about from this perspectives, but you already have everything that you need. You go within and you allow it to release. Okay, Dr. David Carter has a comment.
Okay, so you believe for something, you have the thought, so that's the cause, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about your sidewalk, for instance. So you thought about it, you sketched it, you had a pad, you believed it, you started seeing it, even though it wasn't there in the physical, but you imagined it was, and you walked it all up and down the sidewalk.
Right.
Okay, so that's your faith, and there's no magic involved. So the intersection of what you believed and what you imagined to be there caused the conversation to take place between you and the guy that said, oh, I can do that for you.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. So it attracts, okay? The consciousness of this sidewalk already being there attracts the possibility of a sidewalk being created. So I'm not alone in this. Congregant Frank Lopez shared with me on Sunday that he and his partner had established a place on their patio for a hot tub. They've been talking about this hot tub for quite some time. And so Frank just jokingly said, I'm going to do what the pastor says. I'm going to practice that I'm in the hot tub. So he was sitting outside and I'm in the hot tub and I'm relaxing and I'm feeling really good. I feel the bubbles. I feel the warmth around me. I just feel it. Oh yes, my hot tub is here. I'm enjoying my hot tub. I am living in the reality that this hot tub is there. And you know what happened? They got a hot tub. They said all of a sudden they attracted that there was this immense sale and the bargain was there that was so irresistible. And the funds were there and they said, wow, we're getting a hot tub. How do we get that? Well, we held in mind this consciousness that attracted, okay? And all the elements came together for that which they were believing that was true for their life. So thought is cause. Cause creates effect. Whatever you think you are, you are. Trust me, you think you're fat? I'm sorry. I can't tell you anything otherwise. You are fat, honey. Because you think it, and you'll always be that. So whatever you are that you think you are, if you think you're stupid, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to do for you, because you think that, you'll always be that. But when we change our thinking, we suddenly move from thinking ourselves as being fat or thinking ourselves as stupid or whatever it may be, and suddenly we attract the change that we're so manifesting and holding in mind in our thoughts, in our imagination, in our visualization. We're holding that thought that's a creative cause. Okay, another comment.
So with Frank and Jeff in the hot tub was already theirs for the having, shall we say? They just had to manifest it. They just had to believe it.
That's right.
And
that's
then
right.
Okay.
Right. So I was believing for my partner, Dave. Okay? But Dave's already been here. In fact, Dave's been on this planet 65 years, waiting for me. Okay? Waiting for this moment. So it wasn't like I had to create something. It was already created and it was already there for me. But I had to create the right environment to attract. And so my consciousness was, I'm getting ready for someone. Okay? So you know what I did? Getting ready for someone? I took a picture of myself. I looked really nice, dressed up, put a nice jacket on, nice colorful shirt, smiled pretty for the camera, posted on Facebook. What happened is he saw the picture in Florida on Facebook and said, wow, I'd like to be his friend. And so he sends me a message. You see, when we start acting as if and getting ready, and we're putting all this energy, and happens that someone in Florida meets someone in Georgia. Okay, now what's the likelihood of that really happening in life? But it's when we hold in consciousness that someone is coming into my life, what's happening is I'm putting out an energy that's attracting that someone into my life. Okay? And so at the same time, I also have some thoughts about the kind of person that I would love to have in my life. And before you know it, I attract that kind of person into my life. Okay? So let me tell you this. It's just simple faith at work in our lives. That as you think, you become a creative cause. That cause brings about an effect. And I can't tell you how many times, well, that's just how simple faith works in our life when we break it down. Faith is not magical. Faith is not mystical. Faith is very scientific and spiritual. And the logic, the intelligence of faith and how it works is our spiritual journey for our life. Our spiritual life is intelligent, logical. It's not just, magical. That there's an essence, a process. There is an intelligence as to how it manifests and works together for our lives. Now we find this passage of scripture, son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Wonderful thought. All of God is ours. All of God. For once again, there is one mind, and we are part of that one mind. There's one big 9x13 piece of cake, and when you cut, or sheet of cake, and when you cut a piece off of it, all the essence of that cake is still in that individual piece, right? Everyone gets that. So there's one mind, and you're a piece of cake of that mind, shall we say. You're a slice of that mind. You are an expression of that mind. But there's one mind, and we're all part of that one mind, and that one mind is God. That consciousness of God. So let's now think in godly consciousness. If God can say, let there be light, and there's light, and cause will create an effect, how about each and every one of us being cause that creates an effect? So processing the divine light within a man or woman, what happens is they gain their freedom from this world and the security from all earthly or human dangers. Because we're not bound to this physical world, but we're free to live in the spiritual. And in the spiritual is the world of cause. And in the physical, it's the world of effect. But we're kind of working hard, and we're trying to get effect to create effect. But we've got to have a cause to create an effect, don't we? Because effects don't create effects. Causes do. Did everybody understand that? Everyone with me? You all get that? Everybody? No? Okay, you get it? Okay, great. Everybody's with me? All right, good. I just want to make sure everybody is. Cause brings about effect. Cause is our thought. Cause is the mind of God. Okay.
Okay. So, for instance, let's say you got a couple and they want a beach house, and they work for 20 years, working extra jobs, penny pinching, you name it. And after 20 long years of, doing without, they have the money to buy this beach house. That's working hard from the physical.
Right.
Could they all, had they chosen or been aware that they could work from the spiritual, they would not have to go through all of that to get it.
Exactly. That's the difference between working hard or working easy. And the spiritual life is called the abundant life. Abundant means it's effortless and with great ease. And that's what we're called to live. So as we live by faith, faith is the cause that will bring about effect. So it is your level of believing that ignites this energy. So as an example, yes, I could have worked hard for my sidewalk that I told the story in numerous classes. I had bought a house at a large yard out front. There was no sidewalk to the main street to get to my front door. You had to come in the driveway and walk along a small sidewalk that was kind of hidden in the landscaping. How do you get to the front door? A lot of people thought, well, do I walk across his grass? Should I walk across his yard to get to the front door? I wanted a sidewalk that stretched from the front door all the way out to the street that just expressed this spirit of hospitality. And I wanted it beautifully landscaped with hedges on either side and beautiful flowers and just being a welcoming gateway to my front door. Because I wanted people to have the sense of hospitality that I wanted to offer and that people are welcome. Well, I could have worked very hard, taken on an extra job, thinking, how can I afford it? Because the initial bids were quite expensive. I thought, I just don't have the funds to do this. In the physical, I didn't have it. In the spiritual, I did. So as I began to believe, all things are coming together and God is making a way. When I feel like there is no way in my physical, that's all right. I've left that. I've left the thought that there is no way because there is a way and God is making a way. How? I don't care because the how is not my work. That's God's work. How God does it is up to God. Okay? My job is to just trust and believe. So what I did was I walked the dog out the front door. I walked down my imaginary sidewalk, taking the dog for a walk. And my partner, Robert, would say to me, what are you doing? I said, I'm walking the dog on the sidewalk. What sidewalk? We don't have a sidewalk. Oh, yes, we do. I'm believing we're having a sidewalk. And lo and behold, when we went to put the grass in, the landscaping company, I spoke to them. I said, oh, please be conscious. I really would like to have a sidewalk. You want a sidewalk? I said, yes, I'm believing for a sidewalk. Well, I can put a sidewalk in for you. You can. And he said, X price. And I was like, wow, I can afford that. I have the funds. This is really affordable and very easy. And you're throwing it in within the landscaping project? Wonderful. And today, I have a beautiful sidewalk with hedges and flowers, just as I had imagined, just as I'd walked the dog, just as I'd believed the dog and I were walking up and down on the sidewalk. It is there now. How does that manifest? Through thought, which is cause. As you think, so you are. I believe there is a sidewalk coming and I have a sidewalk. In fact, let's just remove out the coming. I believe I have a sidewalk. It's already there. And I'm living as if and holding that in mind. That's faith. Now people say, oh, that's silliness. I'll believe for the sidewalk when first and foremost, the cement truck pulls up and they've already laid the forms down and they pour the cement. Then I'll believe there's a sidewalk. That's not faith. Faith is how we're called to live our life. It is the substance of things not seen. Okay? It is the cause that brings about the effect. That's our faith. So when we understand this, we will fear no change in the outer picture because the outer picture is but a reflection of what's within. So when we go within, we go, God the Almighty is within. Perfection is within. The love of God is within. I fear no experience because whatever is happening on the outer is a reflection of the inner. So whatever's happening on the outside of your world is a reflection of your thoughts. If your thoughts are fear-based, that fear is manifesting in your life. Stress, lack, unloveliness, sickness, whatever it may be. But that fear is going to manifest in your life because those thoughts are from within, are radiating out and attracting to you exactly what you believe. This is the very teaching of Jesus. This is the very teaching of the scripture. This is nothing new, but it's also been the teaching and the divine message of Buddha, of Jesus, of Mohammed, of Hindu sages as well. When we understand this, people of spiritual truth have been trying to get this across to humanity for thousands and thousands of years. It's not new. So what happens is, men and women have always interpreted this light as the messenger, failing to see that they were actually beholding the man or the woman out there. What they're kind of holding there was the light of truth within their own consciousness. Not that they were the messenger, but in other words, let me explain this to you. So what happens is Jesus began to teach. And what he was teaching is, you already have this within you, okay? I'm teaching you that you have faith already within you. You just got to ignite it. Everything is already within you. You have to go within. What happens in worshiping Jesus, we lost the Christ. We lost this awareness. We lost this consciousness. In devotion to Jesus, we failed to apprehend, or we failed to understand the Christ that was in Jesus, the understanding, the awareness that was in Jesus. And in seeking good through Jesus, men failed to find the omnipresent Christ consciousness in their own consciousness. Okay, Dr. David Carter.
So then it's saying instead of having faith in Jesus, we should have the faith of Jesus.
Definitely. Jesus never said, when he was saying, if you believe in me, he was saying, believe not in me as the man, but believe in the words that I share, the teaching. And when you see me, you see the Father, he's saying. He's telling you all along, I'm an example for you. So have my kind of faith. I'm teaching you what faith is all about. Have the faith of Jesus, not faith in Jesus. Because having the faith of Jesus is a work that you do inside you. The kingdom of heaven is within you, not outside. Having the faith in Jesus is having faith in something outside of your life that you're believing. Jesus, you take the wheel. Where Jesus says, honey, I gave you the power. You take the wheel. But we're always saying, oh, but you do it for me, Jesus, you do it for me. Jesus, you do it, you do it, you do it. Okay? We're looking for something outside of us to do something when Jesus said, the power, the kingdom of heaven, the realm of God, the goodness of God is within you. You follow my example. Jesus spoke of himself as a great example. He said, why do you call me good? No man is good. In other words, don't call me as the great exception. I'm just here as a model for you of what can be done in your life. But don't make me out to be this, oh my God, I got to praise Jesus because we got to worship Jesus because he is the great exception. He's the great example. You see, we miss everything when we make Jesus a great exception, or any sage or any guru of any faith tradition. Now, Christ is the activity of truth. Let's get this clear, because here's our problem in our world today. When we think of Christ, we think of Christ as a man. We think of Jesus. Jesus Christ, that's his name. But we don't understand the word Christ. The word Christ is an awareness, a consciousness. Jesus, having the awareness and consciousness, was referred to as the Christ awareness, the Christ consciousness. And so it is, there are many others who also had the Christ awareness. So we understand that the Christ awareness is an activity of truth in your thought process, in your consciousness, in your awareness. It is not necessarily declarations of truth as much as it is being receptive to the truth. So here again, we talk about allowing, because we can declare a lot of stuff. Oh, I am mighty, I am blessed, I am good, but we're not really receptive to that. You can declare a lot of stuff. You can say a lot of stuff, but you don't necessarily believe it. You don't allow it. You're not receptive to it. You're not open to it. So consequently, that truth is negated. Now, Jesus said, I must go away so that the Comforter may come. So what he was teaching is that y'all are so caught up in me, I got to get out of the scene here. so that you can understand that it happens within you. It's not me doing it for you. It's you understanding that you have the power within your own self. It's not looking to someone else. It's looking within. Spiritual illumination does not come from a person, but from the impersonal Christ. That means the Christ consciousness that's open to everybody, that is illuminated within your own self, your own awareness. Realize that all the good you experience is simply a shining forth of your own consciousness. It's what you think. If you are conscious of God's blessings, that's what's shining forth. That's what's manifesting in your life. If you don't like your life, take a look. What are your thoughts? Because your thoughts are shaping your life. Change your thinking, change your world. Change your thoughts, change your belief, change your consciousness, change your awareness, change it all, whatever you want to refer to it as. You're changing your thinking and you will change your world. That's faith in action. So spiritual illumination reveals that, we're not mortals. We're not human beings, but we're spiritual beings. We're a divine consciousness. And we have an all-inclusive mind. We have the very power, presence, intellect of the divine at work within us. Let's use it. Scripture said, let this mind that was be in Christ Jesus be in you. In other words, the same consciousness that Jesus had, waken to it, allow it, and say, well, if Jesus could say to the storm, peace be still, if Jesus could break bread and bless it and feed 5,000, then I need to have that same kind of faith and the same kind of thinking. I need to have the mind of Christ. Let this mind be in you. Let this consciousness, let this awareness, let this way of thinking, let this thought process that was in Jesus be in you. This is the Bible, teaching us how to live this abundant life. Now, the truth will dispel every illusion. And these illusions are our fear, our illusions are our stress, our sense of lack. And what happens is, when we follow this truth, it sets us free. Truth sets you free. And freedom is harmony and unity and being one with everything. So when we embrace this truth that says, I have nothing to fear. God is at work in my life. I have nothing to be afraid of. I have nothing to be troubled by. So I'm completely free to live in harmony and unity. So this spiritual illumination that our author Joel S. Goldsmith is writing about can be attained by simply living constantly in this awareness of the perfection of God, that very presence in you. The perfect presence of God is in me. The nature of God, of man, and of being is perfect, harmonious, whole. So we say, perfect God, perfect man, perfect being. Perfect man, perfect being. We understand that it is this because we see this perfection because the divine is within us and it's perfect. So now we want to conform our thoughts to this truth. Something hits you today and maybe you received an unexpected bill and you're thinking, I don't know if I have the finances for this. Perfect mind, perfect God, perfect experience, perfect being. Means that all things are working together for good. I don't care what news the world has given you, what letter you may have received, or what note or bill you've gotten that may shatter your thinking and thinking, I can't do this, I can't afford this, where did this bill come out? I can't deal with this. You release all that, and you live in this beautiful truth that you know that the perfection of God is at work in your life. Perfect God, bringing about perfect man. Bring about perfect wholeness, bring about perfect wellness, perfect success, perfect abundance. It's all there. So we conform our thoughts, for as you think, so you are. We are the cause that brings about the effect. And so by the continual translation from the visible picture to the spiritual reality, from whatever's going on in the world that you see with your eyes or hear with your ears or taste with your mouth or smell or whatever it may be from the five senses, you just move beyond that to I know that I know that I know God is at work. The power and presence within me is at work. And I live from that perspective, not that of the world. All right, Dr. David Carter has a comment.
Can you go back up to the top of page 4?
Yeah.
Where the comment is, Jesus said, I must go away so that the Comforter may come.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Jesus had to leave because people were putting all their efforts and energy and believing in Jesus. Okay, what is the Comforter?
The Spirit of truth, this awareness that comes. Because we talk about the Comforter, and in the scriptures say the Comforter will bring all things to our remembrance. What is the Comforter? The Spirit of truth. So everybody was looking to Jesus to teach them. And Jesus wanted to say, I'm going to leave because I want you to awaken to the Spirit of truth that's within you, that is ready to unfold, that the wisdom of God is there for you. And that wisdom will manifest through our thoughts, our contemplation. The more we begin to think, I am wisdom, I am wise. The divine presence of God is speaking through me now. I am anointed with the very power and presence of God. I'm anointed with the holy oil. You know, where did this concept come from? In the biblical age of shepherding in the Middle East, the shepherd would pour oil around the ears of the sheep to keep the bugs from getting invested in the ear. Ticks, all these kind of things. Because when ticks got into the ears of the sheep couldn't hear the shepherd's voice. So the shepherd may call for the sheep to come to green pastures and still waters. I'm going to guide you to these places. And the sheep would hear the shepherd's voice. But if they couldn't hear the shepherd's voice and the sheep had gotten deaf, well, how would they hear and to know how to receive? So it is that we call this anointing oil that comes upon us, that we might hear the voice of God that's ever speaking and calling us to our own spiritual green pastures and our own spiritual still waters and our own blessings and comforts, that we understand the Lord is my shepherd. I don't have any needs because I shall not want, because everything's provided for me. I hear it, I understand it, I get it, I live it. That comforter is that anointing, that holy oil, the oil that brings understanding, the Spirit of truth. You see, all these analogies are speaking the same thing for us. So Jesus leaves so that you might awaken to the Spirit of truth that's within you, that already wants you to understand and hear and to receive. You just have to allow and release it and to walk by faith. And to the degree, to the level of your belief, the manifestation is there. The answer is there. It's already there. I'm telling you, I believed someone was coming into my life. And people were like stunned. Well, this can't be. It doesn't happen that quick. How can someone come into your life? It can't be the right person for you. You need to be mourning and beating your chest and crying and living in loneliness and sadness for at least a couple of years. You need to be mourning in sackcloth and going, and then maybe you'll find someone if you're lucky. I don't know how many people have spoken to me about that kind of thinking. No, I don't believe that. I believe that as you believe, so you are. And I began to prepare. Someone's coming into my life. I began to get ready for them. And knowing that they're coming into my life, I knew that they were getting ready for me. And when I met Dave, who is my partner, that alignment, that truth, was a reality for us. Dave would tell his own story of how he went through the journey of coming to this moment of being ready to leave Florida and to move to Georgia, that we might live together. I have my own story of how I was preparing my life for this moment. And in this wonderful manifestation of believing, we receive this wonderful connection, this intersection, shall we say, of that which we believe to be true and us attracting through cause, bringing about the effect that we so desire. All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight in our class. I'd love to hear what your takeaway is from this, and I hope this has stirred you to think about your own spiritual reality and the power of faith at work within our lives. I'd love to hear what your takeaway is for tonight. So if you're joining us through the live streaming, take a moment, type in a few comments. Let me know what your takeaway is from this class. What struck you? What is going to resonate with you? Excuse me. And while we're waiting to hear from you or joining us through live streaming or our YouTube channel, let's go around our room and let's talk with our students who are gathered here in person and hear what they've got to say as their takeaway. So let's go over here to Dr. David Carter first.
Okay. As you think, so you are. So cause is thought, and then the manifestation is what you experience in your outer world. So you are a cause, you were thinking. Dave was a cause, Dave was thinking. You are Dave's effect, so to speak, and Dave is yours. So that means the cause and effect are the same.
Yes.
Literally.
Right. And that, I think, was this wonderful attraction that helped us find or attract to each other, that there would be this moment. Now, I could have very easily said, hey, I'm not into putting Facebook pictures up. I'm not going to have any pictures of me. Well, how would that be? If I wasn't posting photographs, he would never see me, right? Well, so in my consciousness of thinking, I am getting ready, that was one of the ways that I did to get ready, saying, I'm going to have a nice picture of myself, that hopefully someone will see that. And what happened? Someone did see it. And he commented, great picture, okay? It was a picture of me with buck teeth, and although that could be attractive, I'm not knocking somebody with buck teeth, or, messy hair, or, all this, whatever, but I dressed up. I tried to look attractive, okay? So we see, that's the living as if. I'm getting ready for him. And as that consciousness was out there, someone's coming into my life, I got to get
the only instrument of mind is thought, which is contemplation in some form. And then we will see that answers to our prayers are found in right thinking.
Right. Right thinking. Right thinking is the righteousness that Scripture speaks of. We're living in right thinking. And right thinking is, it is so. It is accomplished. It's already there. Let's go to Dave Daniels. What's your takeaway from tonight's class?
Well, there's been a lot of things spoken tonight that are really, since I'm new to all this, it's really opened my mind. But the thing that I think is my takeaway is this one statement: if you do not look away from the personal sense of salvation, meditation, and guidance, you will not find the great light within your own consciousness. It's not about looking to someone, it is looking within.
Yes. Because we've all looked for other sources to help us understand the power and presence of God. A church, a denomination, a spiritual experience. When it all happens within, just simply go within and receive. Excellent. Do we have others who are offering a takeaway?
Yes. Phoebe Leva.
Okay. Phoebe, wonderful.
Okay. First time tuning in. My takeaway is living by faith, knowing that God is working on my behalf behind the scene. My job is right thinking.
Beautiful. Great takeaway, Phoebe. Thanks so much. And I hope you'll join us every Tuesday night at 7 as we continue this class. Glad to have you with us. Someone else?
Yes. Holly Hill.
Holly Hill, great.
To bring something desired into your life, start with an act of belief, faith, imagination. Believe that you already have it, and that's what will happen.
Amen. Great takeaway. Wonderful. Anyone else?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. Well, we'll just wait for just a few more minutes. But while we're waiting, I just want to let you know that if you enjoyed our class, we certainly appreciate the support that you offer to the ongoing work of the Emerson Institute here at City of Light. If you would like to receive a degree in metaphysical or spiritual studies, a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate of divinity, we have those available for you as you enroll in our teaching program. You're more than welcome to always just tune into our classes and audit them. We appreciate your financial support of this work that's providing spiritual education to our world. You can make a donation by going to our website at www.cityoflightatlanta.com. You'll find a donate button in the top corner, and your gifts are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for supporting the wonderful work of Emerson Institute. We greatly appreciate it. And we encourage you to tune in with us every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. as we continue these studies on the infinite way. Now, if you'd like to purchase the book, you can go to Amazon.com. The book can be sent to you. It is simply entitled The Infinite Way by Joel S. Goldsmith. And you can read along with us. We appreciate your studying and joining us as we are wisdom seekers and enjoying the wonderful unfolding of the Christ consciousness within us. Any other comments? If not, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you again for joining us. See you next Tuesday.